My name is Stephen King. Spent some time in the dark.
Please don't let us be in the dark.
Help me. I'm gonna scare the hell out of you. And that's a promise.
Welcome to Castle Rock Radio. I am Max Booth.
And I am Laurie Michelle.
And this is the Stephen King podcast.
The one and only.
The one of many.
Yes, I know.
The only one worth listening to.
That's right.
Probably. Maybe. I don't know. Who listens to podcasts? A bunch of goddamn nerds. Not us. We're much too cool.
No, we make it instead.
Yeah, we make the shit you listen to, folks. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the show, this is a program where we spoil the name of the episode. So this one's called The Raft. So guess what? We're talking about The Raft with Patrick Lacey.
Correct. Who is the author of Bonesaw,
which we just published.
Hooray.
Because on top of doing podcasts, we also publish books.
So see, we're the ultimate nerds.
Yeah. Eat shit. Random house.
You got nothing on us.
Except a lot of money.
Except for a lot of money.
Yeah, Bonesaw's out right now. Go buy that. Listen to today's podcast. Patrick Lacey is talking about The Raft.
Maybe you don't get out much.
Oh, this is crazy.
Come on, it's not so bad once you're in.
Or maybe you just have other things on your mind. But few like movies that will keep you stuck to your chair. Stephen King and George Romero have conjured up an all-new Creepshow just for you. Creepshow 2.
I mean, what is it?
I'm gonna swim for it right now.
So don't just sit there. Walk.
One more step and blam!
Run.
That's impossible!
Swim if you have to.
I got you!
But whatever you do, don't take your time. 'Cause the scares come twice as quickly in
I beat you!
Creepshow 2.
Okay, coming all the way from
Massachusetts.
Pennsylvania? No.
Massachusetts.
Close enough.
Coming from New England, Patrick Lacey.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I didn't know you read Stephen King. That was crazy.
I've heard of him. I've heard of him.
Yeah, when we were talking and you mentioned you also knew about him, I thought, oh my God, you need to come on the show.
Well, this isn't a Dean Koontz podcast. Did I mishear that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oof. Okay. It's awkward.
Oh man, if only this wasn't live.
Exactly.
We'll just have to keep going. Maybe we can't have that dead silence.
We'll make do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can do this.
Yeah. So who are we talking to? We don't know. Yet.
So my name is Patrick Lacey, horror author of such classic masterpieces as Dreamwoods and We Came Back, and actually have a new novel out called Bonesaw through this publisher called Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but they're pretty good. They're decent, and I guess I haven't actually had to pitch it like in person, not over like a text or a website, but I guess I'd call it like a mishmash, everything but the kitchen sink novel about a kid named Liam Carpenter, who's a recent film scoot dropout, who finds out his favorite director, Clive Sherman, might be possibly filming a new sequel to his favorite franchise, which is about a movie monster named the Pigfoot, a giant pig monster, jacked, carries around weapons. So he finds out that this director might not be what he seems, and that the newest Pigfoot film might not just be a movie. So I guess I'd pitch it that way if that's fine. Or I can just keep pitching it for the next hour.
That's fine with us.
Go for it.
Okay,
now, when you say Pigfoot,
Mhm.
is this a giant pig's foot that is just roaming without a body?
Right, so a lot of people are confused by that. I'm happy for you to interpret any way you want. I pictured like a full-bodied, naked man with a pig face, but if you wanted to picture like a 7-foot, just a pig's, I guess it would be a hoof, right? I think pigs have hoofs.
Yeah, I think so.
You are free to do that, and maybe bring that up to like your high school English teacher and see if he wants to teach the book, and you guys can discuss the many symbolisms of the Pigfoot.
Have you ever seen a pig?
I've seen pictures of one. I'm pretty sure, being from Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, they don't have pigs up here. They're just not native here. So I've never actually seen one in person, but I've heard they're lovely creatures.
They're kind of dirty.
Oh,
No.
Yeah, those some
Are they?
perverted fucking animals.
Really? Actually, don't they have like the conscience of a 6-year-old? Isn't that a thing?
Something like that. They're actually very
What?
sweet. Actually, pigs are very sweet.
And they're very smart creatures. So I believe that if like when you eat bacon, like it's the same as eating a child. I think
Yeah, but
I mean,
you know what?
yeah,
It's really delicious.
that holds up.
it's amazing. I should have had some this morning, but I didn't.
You just had the kid instead. Same thing.
I'd love to do like a Pepsi Coke challenge and just see if I could figure it out. But did I say that out loud?
Yes, you did.
Oof, man,
And it's been recorded too, so.
if you could just cut that out, that'd be great.
It's not gonna happen.
Ugh.
All right, so Stephen King,
Yes,
Patrick Lacey.
one in the same.
We're the same.
How did you discover Stephen King?
So I'm holding in my hands right now a copy of Skeleton Crew.
What a coincidence!
I know. I wonder why I would be holding that. I actually I've recently stapled it to my hand, so I hold it wherever I go.
Oh my God, that's a big
and
book.
It hurt really bad too. I'm trying to find what year this came out because I should have looked before. So this is
85.
okay. Yeah. So this is a first edition signed by nobody, but this is the one I had when I was a kid. My mom had it, and I suspect she had gotten it at a used bookstore because I'm looking at it in like. So the first story in this is The Mist, which is by story I mean a 200-page novella, and like that has become unhinged, unglued from the book itself. And the cover is about 85% ripped off. There's a different kind of stain and or mold buildup on every page. So I think this thing has just been through the gutter. And she used to always have it lying around in the house, and I'd be like 6 or 7 years old, barely reading Goosebumps at this point, and I'd kind of open up to a random part, and I just would see like a naughty word or a scary word, and I'd be like, I'm not ready for this. But the story that I always kind of came to and would read more than one word was in fact The Raft. So that's where I kind of first cut my teeth, if you will.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Well, that's a mighty big coincidence, considering today we're talking about The Raft.
What?
Surprise!
Yeah, we forgot to tell you this.
It's awkward. I mean, I never actually read it. I just read, like, there's one naughty, like, paragraph in it, so that's all I've read.
You read that naughty paragraph? Yeah.
Yeah, but I could totally just improv the rest if that's what you need, so.
That's fine. So, do you know the background of this story?
Like, how it came to be written?
How it was originally written and then rewritten.
I actually don't, so
Oh,
clearly I've
let's-
done zero research.
Let's get into this because it's pretty strange.
Please teach me.
Okay, back in the year 1969, Stephen King got drunk, and he was driving late at night in his college town, and he ran into a street cone. And,
Shame on him for driving. in
and
the
this
first place.
pissed him off. So he spent the rest of the night driving around town, collecting over 100 street cones, with the plan of taking them to the county jail and just dropping them off, saying, "I've done your job."
Is this true?
This is
This is
completely true.
Wow. Okay.
He did not make it. He was stopped by a cop.
He died?
No, he lived.
Okay, good.
Yeah, spoiler, he lives. So he was arrested. And he was released the next day, and he was fined $250. And if he didn't pay that within a month, he would be locked up once again. King, he's a bit of an outlaw.
Sure, he's kind of like Johnny Cash in a way.
Yeah, just exactly. Hence the Man in Black.
So,
Yep.
the next day after he receives his fine, he receives payment for a story called The Float. Not The Raft, The Float.
Was that a parade story?
It was, yes. It's about the
Korean anime.
Macy's Day Parade. It's extremely boring. I would not recommend it.
Great branding, though.
Yeah. So the payment was exactly $250, the same as the fine. So he used that payment to stay out of jail.
And the rest is history, I guess.
No, it keeps going.
What? This is riveting.
It is. So The Float was accepted by a nudie mag called Adams Magazine, I think it is.
Adam, yeah.
Yeah, Adam. And they only paid upon publication. But he was never sent a contributor copy. And to this day, he has not been able to track down a copy of this magazine the story was published in.
Interesting.
He would spend countless days, I don't know, minutes,
Hours, I don't know, years.
You sound like you're bullshitting that figure so much.
he spent some time scavenging all these like drugstores, going through the nudie mags, trying to find the specific copy, which seems like an excuse just to be looking.
Sure.
And he never found it. And he also lost the original copy of this submission.
What a tragedy.
So 10 years later, he just rewrote it from scratch and called it The Raft.
So is the raft that appears in Skeleton Crew in fact like a different story completely? Like, does anyone know the original plot of The Float?
He said the plot was mostly the same, but on the rewrite, it became more gruesome.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. It gets more interesting because Adams Magazine has all of the archives up online, and nowhere does this story exist.
Oh, that's weird.
He has claimed he's been published with his magazine multiple times, yet there's no record of this being true at all.
God. Is this like a Mandela sort of scenario? Like Bernstein versus Berenstein?
I'm thinking so. In a 1979 interview, he mentioned that Doc Lowndes, how the hell do you say that?
I would say
name?
Lowndes.
Lowndes, who edited Startling Mystery Stories magazine, that he actually bought a story called The Float, which he never ran because the magazine went out of business.
Huh.
And looking up that magazine, the last issue came out in 1971, so that kind of matches up with the date. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, King just got so drunk, he forgot what magazine paid him.
I mean, he just wanted the check anyway at the end of the day, so it doesn't really matter.
And got him out of jail. I mean,
That's
But
right.
if you Google, like, the Adams Magazine, Stephen King, you'll find all these different forums of these Stephen King geeks just going crazy, going through these nudie mag archives, trying to find this story. And it's the wrong one. He was wrong.
he had to
Do you
have been.
think he got it confused for when he modeled for the magazine?
I'm positive, yes.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah, it was a magazine that just showed off Adam's apples. It was strange.
Well, he has a lovely one, so I would pay good money for that.
Yeah, he had a whole display of it.
A montage of pictures.
No, what do you call it? The
spread.
Yeah, the spread.
A spread.
A spread.
He calls it his Stevens apple.
Yeah, but no one else is going with that.
No.
So that's the background of the Raft.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the story in a whole new light now.
Did you turn on a lamp?
Yes, actually.
Oh, okay.
I opened the shade and I can see the sun now, so it's kind of an unrelated comment, but that's fine.
Well, I'm glad you can see it. That's great. So this story takes place in...
I assume Pittsburgh, or outside of
Boston.
Pennsylvania. Maybe that's where you got the Pennsylvania
Boston, Pittsburgh, same state.
If you look at a map, like it's Pennsylvania actually is New England. Like the whole thing is just Pennsylvania. So
I think it's because I constantly get you confused with Adam Cesare.
you're not the only person.
Yeah.
And we're also the same height too, so it can be.
Yeah. When I accepted Bonesaw, I thought I was publishing Adam. So I was really disappointed.
You were not. Poor Patrick.
You're like, oh, awesome! Video night too. This is great.
What the hell?
No, I'm kidding. I knew what I was doing.
Again, like you don't. Not saying that with conviction. I don't think.
It's too late now. This contract's been signed.
That's very true.
So, we have, 2 guys and 2 gals in college?
Yes, and they're driving in a Camaro.
Oh, yes. We have Randy, who's the protagonist.
Okay.
He is pre-med, which he wants you to know about, even though he does not utilize his skill at
all.
one point.
Yeah.
That's actually a good point. He could have saved lives.
He could have. But he's kind of the nerdy one of the group.
True.
Yeah, he's roommates with some football jock who
Yes.
his name is Deke.
Deke. And if your name is Deke, you're just an asshole. I'm sorry.
Patrick's
I would agree with that. Statistically speaking.
Exactly.
I thought you were going to be like, hi, my brother's name is Deke. Excuse me. Deke Lacey.
That'd be a horrible
New
name.
pen name.
That can be your Adams Magazine.
There you go.
Name.
Adam Caesar's magazine.
There you go.
It comes back to him every time. Randy and Deke, they have this thing where they have nicknames for each other. Will they
Right.
call each other Cisco and Poncho?
Yes.
Now, is that from something? Like, I didn't know if it was like a
thinking it-
reference to.
I'm thinking it is, but
It's from
I'm
the
not
Cisco
sure.
Kid.
Oh, is that what it's from?
I don't know what that is, but
It's
I know
like
it's from
an
that.
old movie or TV show or something.
Just grow the fuck up. Stop with these nicknames. It's ridiculous.
You're in college,
And
for
also,
crying out loud.
I can't tell if it's vaguely racist upon reading it. Like, I couldn't
It
tell.
sounds
yeah,
like it.
the way they're doing it, yes.
Especially if you watch Creepshow too.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we should also mention that it was one of the skits in Creepshow 2.
Right.
The final of the 3, I believe.
The
Right?
second one. The final
Oh, the
one
second one?
was the Hitchhiker, I think.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Someone will correct us.
Yeah, I'm sure.
This was not written by Stephen King. George Romero wrote the screenplay because I think Stephen King took one look at this new movie. He was like, I don't want anything to do with this.
I'm kind of surprised that George Romero had anything to do with it.
He hasn't always made the best movies.
He's made a couple, though. He made that zombie movie, right? The one where they eat brains and stuff.
Oh, 28 Days Later?
I think it's 20 months later, I'm thinking of, but it's fine.
How many of those did they make? 3?
I think it's just the 2. I don't think they ever did 28 years later.
Well, they did months, right? They did 28 days, 28 weeks, 28 months.
I don't know if they did 28 months. That doesn't sound familiar at all.
Oh, man. I'm making this up.
But then there's 28 Days starring Sandra Bullock, which is a lovely romantic comedy. So I consider that unofficial sequel.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
28 trimesters later. That's not a thing.
No, that would be a hellaciously long birthing process.
That'd be an interesting movie. It'd be like 127 hours, but it's just someone giving birth the whole time.
She's in labor for literally years.
Poor woman.
That'd be interesting.
Would it now?
As a movie.
I don't think it would make a good movie. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Shut up.
Also, there's a woman named Laverne and Rachel.
Rachel.
I can't say
Yes.
Laverne. And Cisco, no, fuck. Randy. Now I'm being the racist. Randy is like in love with Deke's woman.
Well, yeah.
But he's with Rachel, right?
No, he's with Laverne originally.
Oh, okay, gotcha. He's with Laverne, but he likes Rachel.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's like a screwed up love rectangle.
Yes.
And yeah, Laverne's kind of just brushed to the side. No one gives a shit.
Right, but Laverne has the hots for Deke because of the way she looks at him.
Yes.
Well, who doesn't?
His name is Deke. I mean, come on now.
He's on the football team.
I mean, did you see that Speedo in the movie? It's incredible.
That thing was able to hide a joint without even getting it wet.
Well, we can talk about that later, but I have some thoughts. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So they're going out to this old raft because they were talking about it like at college or some shit. And they were like, oh no, it's gone. And Randy was like, oh, I saw it when I was out on some geek retreat.
Yeah, some sort of scientific retreat where they were collecting fossils or something.
Fossils.
Nerd alert.
There's no fossils in Philadelphia.
We're not in Philadelphia. We're in Pittsburgh. There's a difference.
No, there's not. So they, they go out and they begin swimming to the raft. Well, this is something I do appreciate with this story. It kind of begins right away.
Yeah.
It's called the Raft, and you get the raft pretty much immediately.
Well, what I want to know is they jump in the water, and then so Randy's the nerdy one, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna screw up all these names, but Randy starts saying like we need to hurry up to the raft at first because we could get hypothermia. Has anyone Googled if that's true? Because I feel like they said that water is 40 degrees. I don't think you can get
I don't think so.
hypothermia.
Yeah, I think you'd have to be a lot colder than that, or after the fact, after you got out of 40-degree water, you might.
Randy is pre-med.
I know, but he does make it a point to say, I'm pre-med, and I know that could stop your heart.
Well, any of you pre-med, or post-med, or coolant med?
I'm on meds, so does that count?
I'm on allergy meds.
Yeah, me too.
I'm on nothing. I'm straight edge.
Are you know? That's funny.
I just let my nose leak. Because I'm not going to hell.
You're so brave.
Funny fact, the guy who played Randy did get hypothermia while filming this movie.
No shit.
He had to go to the hospital.
Oh, wow. Well, then maybe I stand corrected.
Yeah. Daniel
Beer?
Yeah. He almost died from hypothermia because it was so cold his body became green.
Good lord.
That would have made for a more interesting movie, I think.
The crew wanted him to continue, but the director said if they made him keep walking, he would walk off the set and not come back. So they took him to the hospital and then finished after he was done.
So dramatic.
Okay, so yeah, at Phil's, he's freaking out because of the hypothermia, and then he sees this oil slick.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, that's strange. Let's go to the raft really quick before it touches us, and we get disgusting.
And he's yelling at the girls, because it's after the girls. And he bangs Rachel's knee, pulling her out of the water, and she's like, what the fuck you doing that for? That hurt!
And in the Creepshow, too, it keeps cutting back to Laverne.
Right.
And Randy's like, come on, Laverne! And she's like, I'm trying. But every time it cuts back, she's not moving at all.
She's
literally just floating there.
Yeah,
I'm trying.
She is.
Oh, also, while they're driving to the lake, they mention how the owners of the beach refuse to bring this raft in until the lake begins to freeze.
Yeah, and so that's it. Why? Like, why are they so stern about that?
Maybe they know about this oil slick and they use it to, they use the raft to bring it food.
That makes sense. Do you think they, in fact, created the oil slick?
Maybe, or maybe the raft is like, you guys are my bitch now, bring me food.
So you think the raft is a sentient...
I meant the oil slick, but yeah, maybe.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Maybe Raft is the oil's name.
Maybe.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Raft and Deke. I'd read that.
Maybe the raft and the oil slick are, lovers or something.
Holy shit. They make tiny logs.
Exactly.
Raft baby.
Tiny black logs.
Who's gonna pay for this baby? It's a whole drama.
We call it
attached to them.
28 trimesters later. I love it.
There you go. See, there it is.
Oh no, I'm spotting.
Okay.
That was the alternate title.
Oh no, I'm spotting.
Yes, a memoir.
But yeah, so they swim out to the raft and they're freaking out because of this oil thing, and Rachel just begins looking at it and she's mesmerized.
Well, she's kind of upset because Laverne has gotten out of the water, and of course Laverne's wearing a transparent bra, according to this story.
Yes, very
A
transparent.
very transparent bra. And so Deke is like holding Laverne to warm her up, and Rachel's like, what the fuck, that's my guy.
Yeah.
So she's kind of mad, so Randy kind of like tries to comfort her. And she looks at the oil slick and she becomes mesmerized, and she sticks her hand down in the water to swirl it.
This is actually my favorite little detail of the story. Is in the actual story version, they say that she sees colors floating in it, which I thought was interesting because it almost had like some sort of cosmic, otherworldly element. But I don't think they mentioned that in the movie.
No,
I think
not
she's
at
just
all.
looking at the oil slick. So
Yeah, and I think we might be wrong about who is who. I think Rachel is with Randy.
No, I promise you. I just read this last night.
I read it this morning.
I know, but I promise you.
I'm actually reading it right now.
Patrick saw this.
I want to say that you're both right.
Okay.
I think Laverne is with. God, now. I'm
Originally,
confused.
she was with Randy.
Right? Okay, but she likes Deke
But she
now
likes
because
Deke, right?
he
Okay.
hides drugs in his junk. So.
Because even
Oh, yeah.
Randy says something like, "If I really loved a woman, I would never bring her over to meet Deke."
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Okay, so yes, talk about this contraband.
Oh, okay, so I don't. This is a big moment for me. I don't think the drug part is mentioned. I don't think the way in which he smuggled the drugs to the raft is mentioned in the book. I could be wrong about that.
I don't think
But-
there's any drugs.
I don't
in
think
it.
there's any weed mentioned at all in
Nope.
the story. There might be, but I don't think so.
In the movie, and correct me if I'm wrong, I watched this part 300 times, is that he has like a little baggie of weed of like very neatly tied joints that somehow don't get crushed. But anyway, so he ties it to the Speedo, right? Like I don't think he puts it in the Speedo. I think he in fact ties it in a nice little neat knot and then swims across, and then some. It's not a Ziploc. Like I looked at it, it's clearly one of those like baggies that there's no like seal. It's just open. And somehow from like whatever the eighth of a mile that he had to swim, probably not that much, they didn't get crushed or wet. Like he takes out these immaculate-looking, hand-rolled marijuana cigarettes, and somehow they survive. And I know I'm picking, but like, why? How? Just tell me the science behind that. Maybe I was more mystified by it.
No,
No,
because we
I
both said this.
definitely
They were like,
was.
"What the hell did those come
See,
from?"
I missed the bag completely, and I just saw him reach into his Speedo and pull out this one joint.
Thought he might have been an old drug mule, huh?
Yeah, I thought there was some butt play going on. As you do.
Of course.
So yeah, the oil, it reaches out and sucks up Rachel and has a good old time.
Right. So then they start taking Randy more seriously, because before this, they're just teasing him. Why are you so scared of this oil slick?
Yeah. It all happens really fast,
Yes.
too. And then the villain is freaking out, and then, like, Deke is just, like, saying, shut the fuck up or I'm gonna punch you.
Well, it's important to tell her to shut the fuck up.
However, we need to point this out. He also says to the villain to shut your pie hole.
Yes.
Oh, does he say that in
Yeah.
those exact words?
Yes. Now, a previous episode of Jeopardy we watched, one of the questions was, well, the answer was that Christine was the first, like, record of any book or anything in literature that used that phrase.
Interesting.
This was originally published in Gallery magazine in 1982. Christine came out in 1983. Jeopardy
Yes.
is fucking wrong.
Did you like call the Jeopardy hotline
We
and
need to.
inform them?
I
Yeah.
did.
We need to call Alex Trebek and tell him that they
Oh,
were
wait.
wrong.
I think the number is a 911, so you should just call. They can put you in touch.
Patch me through that, Trebek.
I'm sure my local emergency dispatch would love it if we called them with that complaint. They got nothing else to do.
But yeah, so Jeopardy is a Lyle, and we should not trust it.
I never did, actually. But
I was really excited when I came across that line last night.
What if it wasn't written originally in the original
You think he
gallery
added
version?
it?
And he added it to this one.
Well, I'm gonna... Oh, shame on me.
We gotta go find gallery.
Pie on my face.
What kind of pie?
So, now they're just kind of standing around looking at the oil slick. And every time Randy finds himself, like, in a trance, he punches himself in the nose.
Oh,
yes, which I do constantly, like when I'm tired driving in the morning and just punch myself.
That might have something to do with your allergies, man.
I haven't been able to breathe through my left nostril since I was 8, so I think that's why.
At one point, Deke is like, okay, I'm gonna swim this.
Right.
And then the oil slick comes up from beneath the raft and begins melting his foot.
Yes.
And as this is happening, for no reason at all, Randy takes his elbow and hits Laverne in the stomach.
I think it was to get her to quit freaking out and climbing on top of him.
But there's friendly ways to do that.
I don't know. He's pre-med. Maybe that is the best way.
But it's funny because she's just there to, like, scream the whole time. Like, that is her purpose. She's basically the written equivalent of Shelley Long in The Shining, which he complained about her just screaming the entire movie. So I thought it was funny that he's written the exact same character, just in a different scenario.
Oh, King, you chuckle fuck.
I've never heard that expression.
Oh man, that's what you need to move to the Midwest.
Chuckle fuck Indiana.
She passes out.
Right.
Yes.
Either from seeing Deke being melted, or from being elbowed in the stomach multiple times.
Or from screaming for the past 30 minutes.
Yeah, so
I think it's hypothermia, to be honest with you.
I don't know, I'm not pre-med, I can't tell you. Now, didn't you want to talk about the way Deke's head explodes?
Yeah, like, he's melting and all of a sudden King describes his face as like vomiting, but it's like projectile blood, and blood comes spurting out his ears and his eyes all over the raft.
Like a balloon.
Like a balloon. He compares him to a fire hydrant.
Oh, yeah, that happens a lot with fire hydrants.
What, they just randomly spurt blood?
Yeah.
That's an interesting... So, like, they're all presumably in the story, not in the movie version, covered with blood and guts, right? That's how I get it. But then two characters still decide to go to the bone zone in, like, the next scene with each other. And they're just covered with bits of dead Deke. Like, that's gross.
It is disgusting, especially considering how he wakes up. By
Yes.
biting the earlobe so hard it draws blood. Because someone in his pre-med class once said that's how you can wake somebody up.
So between that and punching himself in the face, like, where is he getting this information?
I don't know.
I think someone's fucking with him. I don't even think he's in school. He's going to, like, one of those fake colleges from Accepted.
Well, his real name can't be Randy. You know?
No, it's probably Rudolph.
I would say so. Or Chucklefuck.
So he tries to Ozzy Osbourne, and then they decide to cuddle, and then they have sex.
And it's the best
But,
sex
like,
he's ever had.
And then, I know, he's like, they say he's inexperienced, but he slept with 3 other women, like, in the last month, is I think the way
So he's
they
just
put it.
a newly formed unvirgin.
On this raft, too.
Yeah, what a gigolo.
That would be a good twist if he was bringing these folks out to sacrifice him.
That would have been a
Yeah.
good twist.
But no,
Yes.
Stephen King didn't. Maybe that was in the float, so he forgot about that.
I think that.
But yeah, as they're having sex, the oil comes and rips her into the lake.
Covers her face.
Now,
Yeah.
Now, why in the screenplay did they change this and make Randy a creepy rapist?
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
know.
I'm
Like,
glad
she's
we're talking about
asleep. She was asleep and he starts fondling her.
But like she's smiling in her sleep, so I think he takes that as an okay sign. But like it's visually uncomfortable to watch.
Right.
It is disturbing. Like what was the discussion about that change?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at least in the story, she's awake and she instigates it.
Yeah, it's consensual. But like George Romero was like, you know what this needs? Rape.
It needs more rape.
But like, couldn't they have just had him bite her ear? Like that would have been a great opportunity to do the bitten earlobe thing, you know?
Right.
But instead they went with like sleepy rape stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. It was kind of a weird choice.
Yeah, either way, she dies in the movie too.
Yes, she does. Quite horribly too.
It's pretty great how she dies. Her face is leaning against the raft, and as she's being fondled, she moves her head and is like, my head's melting, Randy. And Randy's like, oh no.
Let me finish.
Well, and that's another thing is like he keeps going for like a little too long.
Right.
And then doesn't he push her off? Well, in the story, he pushes someone off, right?
Yeah, he pushes Laverne off, yeah. Because he's like, this is my chance.
Right.
But then he doesn't do it.
Yeah, why when these people are being eaten, doesn't somebody make a run for it?
If someone...
Well, and then he mentions that he realizes too late that while Deke was getting killed, he could have like swam to shore, and it would have been over.
Yeah.
But would it have been over?
If only Randy had thought this out.
Pre-med my ass.
Damn it, Randy.
So now he's just standing on the raft because he can't sit, because as soon as he goes to sit down, the oil slick thing comes back underneath the raft. And he's going crazy. And he's doing this thing that's repeated throughout the collection skeleton crew. Well, he's saying, do you love?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that's right.
That is...
It's like the recurring theme of Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, I mean, it's in Nona, it's in The Reach, it's in Metal Things, probably.
Probably.
And that is from a Ramones song, right? Or a song?
I don't know. I tried finding this out.
They mentioned a Ramones song in this story, so possibly.
Oh, it's from the song Do You Love?
Oh, is that where it's from?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where it comes from. I mean, it's probably from the song, probably from the Ramones, but I tried Googling it today because I always forget and nothing came up.
That's not surprising.
If I type in Stephen King, do you love, it just comes up like, what Stephen King book do you love?
All of them. None of them. I don't know.
The Raft isn't an option.
No, so Randy starts looking at the oil slick, and he mentions it before that when you look in the oil slick, all you can see is the colors, and it kind of mesmerizes you, and like tries to like overtake your soul, cosmic soul, or something.
And that's kind of what happens.
So he just lets it.
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Go back to college?
Finish pre-med?
Yeah, but in the movie, he jumps off the raft and he makes a swim to the beach.
And he gets there. He does get to the beach.
Yes. And it still leaps out at him.
It takes him in.
It looks so goofy in the movie. It's like a giant top.
Well, that's what I was going to talk about. In the story, it's, you have the flushing colors, and like I said, it's almost cosmic to the point where like I feel like you're looking at it and it's ever changing. Like you can't really focus on it for too long and get its true form, almost like a Pennywise thing.
Yeah.
And then in the movie, it's a trash bag. Like it's just a trash bag.
It really was a big trash bag.
Yeah.
At one point, he's like, "Have you ever seen that oil slick? That's a perfect circle." And we're looking at it. It's like a rectangle.
It's not even a
not
perfect
circular
circle.
in the least.
No.
And it's a solid substance.
So in the story, they put the car keys in Deke's pants pocket. But in the movie, they leave the engine running with the radio playing with both doors wide open.
I'm like, shouldn't somebody shut the doors to this car?
And a day and a half later, the battery is still going fine.
I want to know what kind of car battery they have to last that long.
That's a good point, actually. It must be a 9-volt or something.
A 9-volt.
I know nothing about cars.
That'll do it.
If you turn them on and press on the gas, they go.
Sometimes, unless they've
So
died.
you say.
That's what I've witnessed.
So after Deke dies on the beach in the Creepshow, the camera zooms out to a sign that says no swimming.
Right.
Yes.
Why the fuck is it a raft then if there's no swimming?
Well, I think there's no swimming like after. I think it goes into effect like after October 1st was my interpretation.
There's no sign. There's no date on that sign.
No,
I think what happens is
June
like
3rd.
I got nothing. I was gonna say really push myself into a corner here.
I think they will just be like, it would be spooky if it said no swimming.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. Because in the story they mention multiple times how it says no trespassing, park closed, beach closed. They pass like a bazillion signs. They even drive around a barrier to get to this lake.
What's the raft doing then?
It's just hanging out because the owners won't bring it
It's
in after the end of the
accepting
summer.
sacrifices.
It's in love with the oil slick. They're having an affair. I keep telling
With who?
you. The oil slick.
Oh, who's the affair from? Like who's being cheated? Who's being
They're-
cheated on?
The owner. It's his raft.
The ocean.
The ocean.
Yes.
One little fun fact: the makeup artist Ed French quit halfway through filming this movie
Really?
because the director Michael Gornick went up to someone else and was like, "Hey, I need advice on how to fix this blob monster." And Ed French was like, "Well, this is how you do it." And Michael said, "If I wanted your opinion, I would have asked you." So he just quit.
Ooh, brutal.
And he was also supposed to play the creep, like,
Really?
but he quit. So Tom Savini had to jump in and do it.
Well, I think that was for the best, actually.
Yeah, I think Ed French is just a drama queen. But yeah, I think that about covers the Raft.
I think so. It's just he likes having stories about like being stuck in a scenario, right? Because like you have Misery, you have Gerald's Game, but this one kind of takes it to the furthest element you can have because like they're just standing on a raft, but the whole like curse of it is it's like stand or die, and all I could think of was like getting blood clots in your leg because you're standing for so long. But all they had to do was stand, and they would have lived. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of a fatal flaw, but who am I to Kuntz knows his stuff. So
Most of his stuff has a fatal flaw in it. If you
That
when
is
you
true,
read
yeah.
it the
Name
second
one
time,
other thing.
everything that we've read so far has some sort of flaw in it. Come on now.
yeah,
Gwen's
like The
button
Shining.
box.
The Shining, they could have just Airbnb'd it instead of
There
staying.
you go.
at the-
See,
Oh,
They could have just stayed home and saved money.
that's true, and he could have just continued to be a drunk, and it would have been fine.
Yeah. I guess he was paid to do that job, huh?
yes, he was.
But he didn't have to stay there. That's the thing.
If no one who was checking.
Yeah, exactly.
Did that hotel have cameras?
I highly doubt it.
It's a nice hotel.
Yeah, but this was back in 1960, 70 something.
Yeah, cameras will around
I know
them.
that, but people didn't really
I think
utilize them.
webcams did come out in the early '60s. I saw that on Jeopardy.
Yeah, because all that scene will Jack Skypes with the hotel owner.
Yes,
Of course.
exactly. You should have him on this podcast. That would be great.
Jack Nicholson?
No, Jack Torrance. Actually.
I'll try. I haven't finished The Shining yet, so I hope he's still around.
Oh, plot spoiler. Oof.
So yeah, would you guys recommend this one?
Well, in terms of actually like short story wise, yeah, you have to suspend
No,
your
novel-wise.
Shut up. You have to suspend your disbelief, but it does work and it is creepy. So yes, I mean, in terms of the other short stories that we've read, it's a much more solid plot
Beat three,
thing.
you'll do like an Italian.
I know
thing.
I am. I'm waving my hands around trying to figure out what word I'm trying to use because everybody can, of course, see me.
Patrick.
Yeah, I would recommend it. I don't think it's necessarily his best short story or written anything, but it holds a special place in my heart because it's the first one that I read pieces of, and then later on, when I got like really into reading, I read The Mist all the way through, and then made my way through Skeleton Crew, and I was like, oh yeah, that's that one I used to look at the naughty paragraphs through. So I think I'm viewing it through nostalgic glasses. But I think it's pretty good. I would definitely recommend it.
You know, I think that is how King gets so many young readers so early. Is
Yes.
they flip through and they read like these naughty worlds, because the same thing happened with me, like with The Body.
Oh.
I mean, these kids will saying bad things.
Yeah.
Fudge, yeah.
What is a pie hole?
Sounds like a delicious dessert.
It's not.
Sure does.
We do have some Patreon questions before you
Oh,
leave.
interesting. I'd love to answer those.
Yeah, so question 1 comes from Max Booth. Will you live again?
Can I answer that with another question? Do you love?
Do you?
Okay, now for some
Actual real
questions from those who pay us money.
All right, so the first one comes from Scott. He said, "What inspired you to start writing fiction?"
Start writing fiction. I think, okay, so the first thing I ever wrote, and this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, but was like a Goosebumps fan fiction novel. And so it was pretty on brand. I was obsessed with R.L. Stine and all those books, and I was just like, well, I can do this myself. And I'd always been like a kid, like I was big into comic books, so I wrote my own comic book. I would make like knockoffs of video games. So like I have in second grade, we had to do like a storybook, and we'd get it like actually bound by a company, and they wouldn't let me do Mega Man because they said I'd get sued, which is ridiculous because I'm not like actually publishing it. So I think I did like Magic Man or like Power Man. So I kind of started in fan fiction, I guess you'd say. So in third grade, I did what was it called? The Cursed Scorpion, and it was a 30-page Goosebumps novel, which I was certain I was going to like send to R.L. Stine. And it was about a girl who got a scorpion, and it was cursed, and that was really it. But I think that was kind of what inspired me, was just blatantly copying other published works, which I'm still doing today, so it's great.
Yeah, I mean, Bonesaw is basically video night.
It's basically video night with a touch of the Raft, actually.
Just that one naughty paragraph, right?
Exactly, yes. But it's it's a chapter-long paragraph.
Oh, wow.
If they made Bonesaw into a movie, your protagonist, who I can't seem to remember the name of offhand, Liam. He would definitely be a rapist.
He would.
He would.
I mean, I cut that part out in the book, but in the movie, like, it opens with him just getting out of jail. So yeah.
Yeah, his name would probably be, I don't know, something like Abe.
Who the fuck is Abe? Can we just talk about that?
Yeah, we could talk about that.
So I think what had happened is, like, I was working on another book, and I noticed there was a character named Abe, and then in Bonesaw there's a scene with a police officer, and I think he was originally named Abe, so I must have not done a find and replace. I've just been like, guys, I can do this like by myself. So I must have just like tried to find, and I think I changed it to Paul, but they were still like it kept going back and forth between Paul and Abe, and eventually, like, towards the end of the chapter, when I got the edits back, Max was just like in all caps. I was like, "Who the fuck is Abe?" And I laughed. I'm still laughing about it. But like all by myself at my kitchen table was howling with laughter. I was like, yeah. But it's weird because like I don't remember the name Abe being in another book, so I must have changed that too. So apparently I'm just cursed by this mythical figure named Abe. It's three letters, but they'll keep me up at night. So.
Man, that should be some type of like bye man story. Abe. Imagine like a shitty teen slasher movie. It's like, have you guys heard the legend? What? Of Abe?
And they're like, what's the legend? And you're like, I don't know, he has a different name. But you just said his name was Abe. Shut the fuck up.
We have more questions.
Oh, please.
Brian Asman wants to know, what is Patrick Lacey's favorite slasher novel?
Favorite slasher novel? Well, so that's the funny thing is, like, after I wrote Bonesaw, I was like, oh, this is kind of a slasher novel. And then I was like, I don't think I've ever read a slasher novel. Like, I can't think of any, like, prime example. Can you guys, like, off the top of your head? I just feel like there's they're probably out there, but I don't think they're as prominent as, say, like a ghost story or a haunted house story.
I would say Stephen Graham Jones is the last final girl.
Right, yeah, so I have that on my Kindle. I've not read that, but that's like a meta slasher type thing, right?
Yeah, but I'm going to count it.
Only because he can't think of anything else.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't think of any slasher novels off the top of my head.
I feel like Christopher Pike had a bunch of them.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And then I guess if you want to get technical, right, the Raft, the oil slick is kind of a slasher.
Oh, man, the Halloween novelization.
I don't think that counts.
Well, if I'm looking like right to my right, I have a small shelf of novelizations. But even in that, I have 0 slasher one. Oh no, I have Halloween 3, but that's the only one that's not a slasher. So.
How is that?
I haven't read a single novelization, but I collect them because I'm a bad person.
I'm always interested in reading them. I bet you. I'm not gonna bet anything.
You really should.
Yeah. We have one question left.
All right.
Okay, I'm sorry that the last answer was so horrible.
This is the same question by Brian again. That's not the same question. It's a different question by the same person, Brian.
Oh. Okay.
What slasher movie would you easily survive, and which would you be the first to die?
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm gonna say so. Halloween, I think I'd survive because I just wouldn't babysit. That's babysitting is stupid, so you just don't do that.
Yeah. Don't
babysit and then you live. That's the meaning of that entire movie. It's just don't babysit someone else's children. You'll live. Done. Easy answer for that. What would I survive? I would say the burning, because the whole thing with the burning is all the camp counselor people who played a joke that went horribly wrong on the slasher in the beginning. They throw a thing into his little shack and it tips over, I think it's a candle, and then he burns alive. I wouldn't burn anyone alive. I've never done that, and I've never had the urge to play a prank where someone is horribly disfigured. So I think by not doing that I would survive. But I just answered twice as to what I would survive, so that's a stupid answer. I guess I wouldn't die in a slasher movie. I have so many wits about me that I just never die.
You sound like Jamie Kennedy before he died.
You're the second person to compare me to Jamie Kennedy today.
Did Adam Cesali also compare you to him?
Actually, he texted me and it just said hashtag Jamie Kennedy without context, so I assume he was just calling me Jamie Kennedy.
That makes sense.
So yeah, I would never die in any slasher film. You've heard it here first.
So now we need to make a movie. Patrick Lacey will die.
That's actually true. No, I feel I always think about what I would do if a knife wielding maniac came at me, and I think what I would literally do is the same thing I did when I came face to face with a coyote a couple years ago. Is just my first instinct wasn't to run because I had a big box of shit because I was moving. And it was super early in the morning, no one else around. It's 3 a.m., it's pitch black, and I see a coyote. He's right behind me. And I just started yelling at it that was my inclination. And I think the same is true of a madman. If you out-crazy them, because they're expecting you to scream and run, but if you just screamed at him and started, spewing, facts such as where the term pie hole first came from, you're going to throw them off. And they're going to drop the knife, and they're going to be I don't want any of this. This guy's clearly more nutty than I am. So I think that's the key to surviving any slasher film, is just be a lunatic.
So did the coyote run off?
Yes.
Oh my god. You almost died that day.
Yes, I did, but they don't call me Jamie Kennedy for nothing.
Okay, Abe. Abraham Kennedy.
You know what that makes me think of? Anytime I hear the word Abe, I think of my son, and he was studying the presidents.
His son's name is Abe.
It's not Abe either. But it's funny, because he came home and he was telling us about Lincoln, right? So yeah. He told me, and he was very, very adamant on the fact that Lincoln's first name was Hambone.
Hambone?
Yes.
Not a nickname? That was his
name?
Christian name?
Yeah, yes. Hambone Lincoln freed the slaves.
Hambone Lincoln.
Hambone Lincoln sounds like the best like steampunk novel that hasn't been written yet.
I think you gotta fix this.
I think I do. Bonesaw 2. Hambone. Revenge.
It could be. I mean, kind of fits in with the Pigfoot thing.
Oh shit.
Oh, yeah.
It does. I'm the Pigfoot's cousin, Hambo. I want revenge.
But every like 100th incident of that name, I just throw in an Abe for no reason.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's like when my mom tries calling like one of my brothers. She never gets the name right.
My mom just calls me Disappointment, so it's pretty consistent.
Oh wow, is that what Patrick is short for?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's my middle name.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I think that's it. Tell the audience where they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook. I believe it's like PatrickLacey.77 always comes up in the URL. But if you just search for me, you'll find me. My handsome face is right on the profile picture, so that'll come up. And then Twitter is Pat Lacey. I was lucky enough to get on Twitter pretty early, so I don't have any like weird numbers or anything. And then Instagram, I think it's Patrick C. Lacey. And then I don't know the name of my website, but it's probably Lacey.wordpress.com, but if you just Google like Patrick Lacey Hambone, it will definitely come up.
Now, how come you haven't told anyone that you also play football in England?
Oh, right. I play football in England. I've written a book about castles in the English countryside, and also am a neurological or somewhere, I think, in like France. So I'm all of those people if you Google me.
Really humble, man.
Well, writing is just a hobby for me. Saving lives is my full-time job.
Oh, okay.
Of course.
Well, that's good, man.
I'm pre-med, actually.
And that's gonna do it. Thank you for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.
And that was The Raft with Patrick Lacey.
Yes.
And hope you enjoyed the program. I hope you listened to it and thought, by golly, I need to go read Patrick Lacey's Bonesaw. Well, now you can, because as we discussed up top, it is out.
Woo!
You can buy it from places. Amazon. Barnes & Noble.
Correct.
You can go to a website, perpetualpublishing.com. You could call up your local indie bookstore and say, hey, I want that Bonesaw.
They will automatically know what you're talking about.
You could go to a hardware store and say, hey, you got any Bonesaws in?
When you search on Amazon for just Bonesaw, that's what pops up.
Not surprised. Will you? We also get that porn parody of the Saw movies.
Bonesaw.
You want to play a game?
Ooh, baby.
That's about it. PMMP wise.
Yes.
All the self-promotion we're going to do in this episode.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. But speaking of books that are now available, Stephen King's The Outsider came out this week as well.
It did.
So yeah, you probably already know about that because he is rich and one of the most best-selling authors of all time. We don't really have to promote that.
We really don't need to promote Stephen King at all, but that's okay. And some unknown writer, nobody's ever heard of him.
We're recording this on a Tuesday. All copies should be arriving sometime today.
Very exciting.
We will be doing an episode about The Outsider after Christine.
Yes.
Christine will be coming out
here in a couple weeks or so.
Well, it came out in 1983. The episode about Christine should be coming out not next week, but the week after.
You assume.
And you better get reading, Missy.
I have been reading. Thank you very much. I have been reading.
And then after that episode, we will probably do one about Christine the movie.
Very exciting.
And then The Outsider.
At some point, we'll get to The Outsider.
Gotta get to it
Shortly.
soon, before July. we're gonna be consumed with Hulu's Castle Rock.
You're right. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, no more reading. We're gonna have a
to...
summer vacation from fucking reading. I can't wait. Also, you.
Me? No, the short story Laurie has been
released on Stephen King's website.
Right, but he spells it wrong, so...
How does he spell it?
He spells it Laurie.
What a dumb piece of shit.
Which is probably the right way to spell it, but that's not how I spell it, so he's wrong.
You spell it Lolly.
Of course, I'm just like the bird. No, it's with an I.
King has said to think of this as an appetizer to the main course, which is the outsider.
Ooh.
I'm not going to think of it that way. That sounds stupid.
That'd be silly.
I'm not going to think of it at all. That'll probably be the episode next week.
Probably.
Yeah. So if you don't want to read that, we'll just listen next week. Because we'll be talking about it on the podcast.
Amazing.
Castle Rock Radio.
Amazing. What? There's no CastleRockRadio.com. What the hell?
Probably it takes.
There is, but it's not ours.
It's not the name of a podcast.
You're so silly.
And what else do we have to talk about?
Not a heck of a lot is happening this week. It's been kind of a dull week. Or maybe a better week, I don't know.
Oh, it's only Tuesday. We don't know
This
what the
is
rest
true.
of the week's going to be going on. By the time you listen to this on Thursday, we might be dead.
We might be. If nothing else, we'll be at a jazz band concert.
No.
The last one we have to go to.
Because we will go home and kill ourselves.
After listening to a high school jazz band. Make sure to contact us. Our URL is www.castlerockcast.com. Our TeePublic page, so you can walk around stylishly, is teepublic.com/user/PMM I think they're still having a sale going on our t-shirts right now. I can't remember. They gave us some dates when they were going to be on sale, but heck if I remember.
I don't know.
Our Facebook group is Castle Rock Radio for fans of Stephen King podcast and dick jokes. Our Facebook page, if you'd rather just follow us, is facebook.com/Castle Rock Radio. Our Twitter handle is @CastleRockCast. Our email, which we'd love to hear from you on, is castlerockcast@gmail.com. Our newsletter, which we send out weekly and has all the exciting news of what's happening around here, is pmmpnews.com. And our Patreon page, if you really like us, is patreon.com/pmmpublishing. For as little as $1, you can get an electronic subscription to Dark Moon Digest.
All right, that's going to be it.
That's it.
Adios.
See you next week.
You monkhead! You monkhead!